My name is Erin Simon.
And I'm Velly.
And welcome to Life is Not a Game, a series where we keep it real about everything in between the world of gaming and out of it with some of your favorite influencers, pro players, creatives, and more. And we have a special guest today, Velly. I'm going to give you the honors of introducing him.
Of course, so this guy comes from our part of the world in esports, from Rainbow Six Siege. He's a professional gamer from Oxygen Esports. I'd like to welcome you guys to the amazing, I call him Latino Heat, aka Big Daddy, Laxing. Welcome to the show, man. It's about time we got this thing going. And first things first, how you doing, man? It's been great holidays so far, right?
Yeah, it's been a good holiday, and I'd like to thank both of you for finally getting me on here. It's been very exciting leading up to this when you first brought it to me. So, again, thank you for getting me on here, and I hope you guys had a really good holiday as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely did. I mean, look at me. This is like PTO Erin. I am not. No.
Feels good to be
up, and nah. It is. It's really nice. Velly woke up like that, but
I wake up.
I see him like that all the time. He just throws on a flannel, throws on a shirt, and he's good to go.
Velly things, you know what I'm saying? But I'm Laxing. I gotta ask you about your holidays, man. So I was shopping with you to buy your girl a gift, and it's been a previous topic on this show, right? It was actually a topic on our very first episode with Yinsu. So how was things with your girl Glitter Explosion? For those of you that don't know out there, Glitter Explosion is an amazing host and commentator, and she is killing the game right now. We spoke about dating in the industry, and this guy right here is a pro player dating a host slash caster. How was things with her this holidays? Because she got a nice big house, and you guys have been kind of living life together.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. It was my first time actually spending Christmas with her side of the family, so it was an experience, not an experience. It was an experience in and itself versus how my family traditionally runs Christmas. Their Christmas is a very big thing for them. It's a lot of gift giving, whereas like throughout my years growing up, we got 2 or 3 gifts, call it a day, maybe 8, and that was it. People went their own ways. But here at the Lara Quente Christmas, it is, we opened, I think we had breakfast at 10 and then opened presents at 11 and didn't finish opening presents until 5 o'clock. So,
what?
and I don't want to think like, everyone had like 20 gifts, she does have a really big family. Thinking. She does have a really big family, but Lauren actually is the present disperser, and she does it in a very certain order. Has to be checked by everyone to make sure that that gift can be given and receiving. And you go around in a circle of, so everyone, gets their like 30 seconds, minute of fame opening their gift, and then it goes to the next person. So that's kind of why it was a little lengthy one. Okay. But aside from that, it was a super fun Christmas. I also had Puerto Rican food for the first time. She is Puerto Rican and her dad made that. So that was a very cool experience. But yeah, overall, the Christmas was super fun. And I mean, it was just a really fun time. It was nice being around family since I couldn't be around my own.
So I gotta ask,
wait, hold on. I gotta jump in because he brought the Puerto Rican pride out of me right now. You know, my people. So I have to ask, you both are Latinos. I guess, did you grow up celebrating Christmas the day before Christmas Eve? Because within certain Latin communities and families, like Christmas Eve is that day versus Christmas.
So how it is, so I have a white background or European background than my Hispanic background, which is my dad, the Mexican side. So we will celebrate Christmas Eve with my Mexican side of the family, and we'll all open our presents. We'll all eat tons of authentic Mexican food and food in general, and we'll have that Christmas there. And then we'll go to my mom's side of the family and celebrate the traditional, I guess, their version of Christmas, which is just regular Christmas. Everyone, the family's together, we're all eating, we're all hanging out, opening gifts and having a fun time. So yeah, I will definitely say Christmas Eve is definitely like on the Latino side of things is like it's just as important as Christmas Day.
That's really interesting. So was the coquito banging or not? I need to know.
So I had mofongo. Mofongo's really good. So I don't know what the other. I gotta think of the name.
What, pasteles?
No,
it's like almost like a tamale.
No. It's like beans. It's kind of like a soup almost that you like put on beans and rice. I can't think of it right now.
You said Puerto Rican dish?
Yes. It is a traditional dish.
A soup. What kind of soup?
Oh.
It's. Are you sure it's
Okay.
a soup? Are you sure it's a soup and it's not like a?
It's kind of like a soup that you would also like. You can eat it separate, but you also put it on the rice and the beans. I just can't. I can't think of the name.
It's so funny how deep the Hispanic
because
are.
it is, and it's very
time.
different from going from like a Mexican traditional food versus Puerto Rican traditional food, and the flavors. Like, let me just like fill everyone here that might think Latin culture like it's very all the same. It's not. It is completely different. Like, I want to make it clear too, just because I know Puerto Ricans sometimes get mad, Cubans get mad a little bit. Like, a lot of people think that burritos and tacos is like a full Latin thing. That is like a Mexican thing. I just want to make that clear, okay? And like, I know there's a lot of people out there that are very uncultured when it comes to cuisine, but that is a Mexican thing. That isn't a Puerto Rican thing. That isn't a Cuban thing. Like, they're very different. There's some similarities in some of the dishes, but those things specifically are Mexican. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I'm talking to a girl. I'm dating a girl that's Salvadorian, and I found out they don't eat spicy food, and I was like, "Yo, what?"
Puerto Ricans
what
don't
is
really
this,
eat
yo?
spicy food either. I thought Puerto Ricans had spicy food, but they don't.
Puerto
At least the
Ricans don't
dishes
even
that I
eat
had.
spinach.
I mean, I'm a kind of a Mexican because I don't speak Spanish, so it's kind of unfortunate.
Say that. Don't say that. You're not. Okay, that's the thing that I guess I'm trying to like. When it comes to people who are from Latin backgrounds, there's always this misconception that every single person can speak Spanish, right? But what people have to understand is like a lot of our family who have immigrated or come from these specific countries, you had to assimilate, right? Like, I mean, even now there's still such prejudice towards Mexican individuals or just Latin individuals overall. Like, I know, like for my family, when they left, people still think that like, oh, if you're from Puerto Rico, like, oh, you immigrated. It's like, no, it's owned by the U.S. Like, they don't even know that. Like,
like people don't know. Like, I know that.
But it just shows you that there's so much diversity when it comes to Latin culture. But for you, I guess, like, because I want to kind of pivot more into like your pro playing. Like, have you ever, or do you, really own your background, your heritage within the competitive scene? Or was that something that you kind of grew into, starting to appreciate more publicly?
Definitely as time has gone on with presidencies, with kind of how things have happened in America, I've definitely appreciated my culture a lot more than maybe I had prior to a lot of certain events that had taken place. And it's, being of a different culture in America is definitely a hurdle of its own. I don't experience those things as much as, maybe someone that's full has or other families have. I know my family has experienced, prejudice encounters. Like I said, that I haven't, but definitely knowing that is something that does go on very frequently. I'm more definitely aware of it now than I probably was back then. Like, maybe like I'm jokingly, didn't think it was as serious as it was than it has been, shown or brought to light in my eyes in these past couple of years. So I'm definitely proud to be a Mexican American and have that background. And I think it's very important to also be a different ethnicity or mixed ethnicity in a culture where it's very dominated by another race. I think it's good to have that diversity. So I am glad to be what I am at the end of the day. And I think it's just important to have in esports as a whole.
That's pretty dope. So Lax, let's walk down memory lane for a second. Oh, you're not gonna like me for this one, man. So for those of you that have been watching, I said Laxing is a pro player, and so I have a thing to where I don't try to get too close to players. And
but we got really close.
We're good friends. We're friends, right?
Best friends.
BFFs, right? It's my BFF Jill. Because I like to keep things balanced, right? When it comes to talking about being biased and whatnot. Yep. And so but the thing is, Laxing is really fun to watch. If you never watched Rainbow Six Siege, just watch him. Watch Oxygen play. The way he plays, he's like a walking highlight reel. But enough gassing you up, man. You just came.
I could use a little more if you want to. Be a little Christmas gift.
You're gonna need it for what I'm about to bring up right now, man.
All right.
Let's talk about it, because I feel like when it comes to being a pro gamer, there's a lot of narratives and storylines, right? To where you guys really don't get to have the freedom to express how you really feel and what really happens, and what are the thoughts after an event, right? Whether it's good or bad, of what's going on in your life. So you and I just did an event, the NAL finals, and
Yep.
you guys, unfortunately, you got knocked out. You didn't do too hot, man. You
Well,
caught
don't
an
say
L,
you
Lex.
guys. I take full responsibility for that game, and I will always take full responsibility for my unfortunate events or my mishaps. I think it's important as anyone in any career, even outside of esports, you're
But
going to
what
make
happened?
mistakes.
I'm sorry for context.
Yeah,
purposes.
what
What
happened?
What
Need
happened?
context.
There were 2 rounds back to back that I personally could have made the difference in closing out those rounds, and then we would have won and we would have went to the final. So I personally choked a semifinal, which was extremely unfortunate because I had a really good first map. The second map, I had a terrible showing. And it's kind of unfortunate because also in the regular Pro League season, it was almost the same situation where it was first place or second place. And I had a really bad showing on the exact same map, like the exact same situations. And it was like a terrible map. 2 times now it's happened. And then went into third map, I rebounded, I bounced back, but like it shouldn't have ever gone to the third map. It shouldn't have ever happened because like I very much pride myself on being consistent and maintaining a top player spot and just being a top player in general. So when those moments happen, it sucks. But that's the little background of how this all happened, Aaron, that you were asking for. So I choked 2 rounds back to back, which ultimately led into just a disaster of us falling short. Now to go into that, Velly.
Let me say this before you continue on. Let me just say this. I know you're hard on yourself, and I respect it. I think that you should be hard on yourself to push yourself to go further, right? You wouldn't be where you are today if you weren't like this.
100%.
But I will say this. At the end of the day, man, that was a fucking amazing game between 2 amazing teams. So
oh yeah, no, it was definitely a fun game. Sonics has made a lot of improvement throughout the NAL, and I mean they ended up winning it. So it's always nice to lose to the winner, right? So there's something to take from that. But going into that, in terms of my career, being a top player, having a world championship underneath my title, that not a lot of players in Siege can say that I've won one of the biggest events. Only a select few or a handful of people can say that, and I'm one of them. But to go into that, so I will always own my mistakes, and I think that is important not only as a player but as an individual in any work that you're doing, because you're always going to make a mistake no matter how perfect you are. It matters how you handle that. Some people like to sit there, mope around, and really let that determine who they are as a person, determine who they are as a player, whatever it is. We can strictly talk about the esports side of it, but I don't let that reflect to who I am as a person, because I can tell you confidently, I can count on one hand how many mistakes that I've costed my team throughout my 6 years of competitive, and that's on one hand of 6 years of competing. I can say that with full confidence that I've had way more success and created way more success than I've had flaws throughout my career. Huh? What were you gonna say?
Sorry. I was just saying, it was so interesting that you're mentioning about how you're able to take accountability for your mistakes, but at the same time, you don't allow them to impact you. I actually been reading a book that talks about how it's called the growth mindset, where it's like you don't internalize your failures. You kind of take them as, okay, it happened, that's the action, and then you go from there and you grow and you learn from them, instead of taking it as, oh, I'm a failure. Like, you make mistakes. People make mistakes. So how do you, as a pro player, know how to balance letting go versus learning and growing? Because it's a fine line sometimes where some people may let go of things that they shouldn't be letting go of, but then there's times where you have to let go of certain things if you want to progress and get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and that's a good question, Aaron. I actually love that question. I think it's a very important thing just growing up as an individual, not even in esport. I think it's important to reflect on your mistakes and realize your mistakes, whether they're big mistakes or they're small mistakes. I think it's important to realize those, go over them, have your little grief, have your little, beating up yourself, because I definitely beat myself up. But in that moment, I know what I'm worth. I know the work that I put in pays off. And it's just like, am I going to let this one mistake ruin me as a player or as an individual? Fuck no. Not in a million years. I've worked too hard to get to where I am and came over many hurdles that I'm not going to let this one thing happen. Granted, it was terrible. Who wants to choke a semifinal? Nobody. No one wants to do that in their career. It happens. But again, that goes back to what I was saying is, it's important to work on those things and reflect on those things, because it's only going to make you stronger in the end and handling things better. Because at the end of the day, you are going to be your only motivator. You're going to be the only person that's going to push you to better yourself. So if you're just going to sit there and let one thing or numerous things affect you going into whatever it is, you're not going to be successful. You're going to constantly disappoint yourself because you're going to constantly not try to work on it. So for me, it just applies to anything in life that, you know, you really got to strive to be better, because you can always, it's always easier to be comfortable than it is to actually try to force yourself to improve and be better at it. So that's just kind of my take on that.
I have a question. So one of the reasons why, like, I really I enjoyed covering you as a, you know, on-air talent for Rainbow Six Siege, is that you are very controversial in the way that you play. And I love Erin's question because it ties into this one as well. For those of you that don't know, Laxing, he plays flank watch, and he has a very specific style to where it's kind of like he changes the entire game of him playing like hide and go seek, and he forces himself to be the main attraction to distract the entire other team while he makes plays for his team to win. And it works because Laxing is one event. He's been at the top numerous times consistently in his career. My question to you,
and I'm still at the top.
Yeah, you doing your thing, man. You doing your thing. You guys got what? Was it second or first place in stage 3?
Second.
Woo! How is it when even your peers talk about your play style, despite the success, despite everything that you're doing out there to absolutely kill it, and try to like down your play style and get in your head? Like, what is that pressure like as a pro player as well? Because it seems like nowadays, compared to before, when I played a decade ago, you need to have a lot more of tougher skin in order to compete nowadays, especially when you're at the top.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna make it plain and simple. I really don't give a shit what anyone thinks about me in terms of how I play, what I do, because I've been here for 6 years. I've competed for 6 years. I haven't missed a day. So clearly what I'm doing works. And if you want to bitch, you want to complain about it, figure me out, figure out how to shut it down, figure out how to do what it is. You know, I've made almost $200,000 in prize money, and that's not adding salary on top of that for the past 6 years. So like, you know, I'm creating the success that I need to. Sure, you know, I'm not first place all the time, but like I'm maintaining a top position at the end of the day. And, you know, I really only care what my teammates think, because those are the people that are important to me, and that they're what they relay to me, what they say to me, I do take into consideration. I do take very seriously. But if you're just some fucking kid on Twitter saying shit to me, you're just another pro player saying shit to me, I don't give a fuck. You're not my teammate. You aren't making an impact in my life. You aren't my teammate. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to work with you. Like, I'm working with the 5 that I have and the coaches that I have and the teammates that I have. So outside of that, I don't give a shit. That shit doesn't mean anything to me.
It's interesting you brought up the pay that you got. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions around pro players' earnings, because there's not always transparency when it comes to pro players' earnings currently right now. I mean, I remember, I forget who, but I believe it was like the CSGO scene that there was someone who, yes, he started to reveal the amounts that they were going to give contractually to players, and then there was a whole lot of conversation around transparency of the contracts and earnings. Now, I'm not asking you to tell us what your contract is, but what are some like similar themes or themes that you noticed across your career that as a pro player, like, how do you make money, and what's the difference between money you make versus competition than from like an actual esports team?
So just to even talk about the money from tournaments and the money from salary. So the salary is something that even myself and the player that I've created in myself, I make more money than some players in the scene. I make, and that's due to my accolades and everything that like I do. But I think on top of that, I'm very vocal on Twitter. I have a presence, so people know who I am. Like, as we were talking prior to even starting the show, Erin, that, having talent even outside of necessarily an esport and just, creating an audience, creating a following, that all helps you. That all helps grow your brand. That helps market yourself than someone that doesn't tweet, someone that doesn't interact with their audience, and they only rely on what the org is doing. It's very important for any pro player to market themselves and to be your own unique player that stands out from the rest. And I think where I stand out in that case is I'm my own person. I'm not trying to, live to impress someone or live to impress an audience. Like if people fuck with me, they fuck with me. If they don't, they don't. I'm not losing sleep over that. But I know at the end of the day, I have more people that are going to like me than are going to dislike me. So just based off my personality and who I am as a person. But yeah, so talking about the money. So like the salary side of things is, it's good to have because you have kind of a foundation, you have a structure to work with, and that you kind of, as long as you're performing, you're doing well, you can almost guarantee a lump sum at the end of the month. Now, obviously, esports is very cutthroat, so you can't rely on that because, 2 months, 3 months down the road, you have bad, argument with your team, things aren't working out, you end up being dropped, there goes your money. So that's obviously still something that, like, yes, in retrospect, you can look at it and be like, okay, I have a whole year's worth where I can make this, but all of these things have to fall into place. So even that's not guaranteed money. But in terms of like where the real money can be made and like a lot of the difference making money is in those tournaments, because if you're top placing in any of those tournaments, that is a big lump sum that you wouldn't even see that same amount of money that you'd have to wait for in month of salary for 5 months, and like that's a long time, and a lot can happen in esports in 4 and 5 months. A lot can happen in a month. So like where you see a lot of people make more money, a lot of those earnings and a lot of that really comes from tournaments. Tournaments is what really makes you the big changing difference amounts of money, depending also the scene as well, because there's obviously a lot of esports scenes that just regular salary, monthly annual salary definitely is pretty high up there. And then you also add the prize money into it. So in Siege, just talking Siege, the tournament money is really where the money is where you want to be in with the money for sure.
Question, and this is all public knowledge, right? For the people out there, a lot of people really don't think about like how much money like pro gamers, casters, hosts, any of us really make, even streamers, right? And we've discussed this with Ava and May with our last episode. What is the biggest chunk of money out there that you have won at an event? I'm guessing it was 6 Invitational, right? How much was it?
32,000 was the most I've ever won at one time. That's obviously, that could be more, but there's obviously percentages taken out due to contracts and whatnot. But that's probably the most I've like taken in one giant lump sum. But that's like still like, I've won tournaments that like still pay close to that or like a little bit under that. So, I mean, yeah, I'd say that's the most that I've won as a whole.
Now, also, because Erin, we've learned this, definitely. We were thrown into the fire with this. Being young. How old are you again?
24, about to be
24. You've been doing this. Damn years, man. Right, exactly.
I feel old as shit just given my life.
Oh, man.
No, you're very mature. Now, being young and being able to inherit that type of money through your career, how much has that really matured you?
It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. Yeah, it's a scary thing making that much money. I thankfully throughout growing up, I kind of we grew up middle class. My parents definitely could have provided a lot more in terms of buying me and my brother things. But they didn't need to. They gave us a very nice life to live. They gave us what we wanted, but they didn't like spoil us by any means that they could have, that I wish they would have. But now that I look at it back on this day, like, a lot of those things growing up and like the choices that I made really like showed me like, okay, like this much. And let me tell you, $32,000 is not a lot of money. I just want to make that clear.
Why? Wait, hold on. Why though?
You got to take bills into account. You got to take your cost of, just living, food, the things you buy for work, just everyday shit.
Taxes.
That a lot, like taxes. Yeah, I was gonna get into taxes last, leading into everything, but like the most I ever paid in taxes was $27,000, and seeing $27,000 leave my account was fucking horrendous. It's not my money at the end of the day, but that point in time, because like it went from like it went from the year prior. Like I paid like $15,000, and I was like, working with my CPA, and she's like, how much do you think you owe this year? And like this year, like that year, I did make a lot of money, and thankfully I've been making, a good amount of money throughout these years that it's progressively keeps getting higher and higher. So that, I will like to say that is an amazing thing. But, it's like she was messing around. I mean, she's like, how much do you think you made? And like, I was thinking, last year, it was like 15,000, like okay, maybe like 17, maybe 18. And like, she kept going higher, higher, higher. And then we got to 27,000. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how does switching a tax bracket by even like you go from like $1 difference into a different tax bracket and you just get fucked by taxes. And I, unfortunately, some people don't experience this, but Minnesota has one of the highest like self-employed tax rate that gets added on into the already like tax rate. So I got fucked even harder than like normal people would on, well, I don't want to say normal people, but certain other states. But now, thankfully, I'm employed, so I don't really, I don't see that money actually leave. It just gets taken out through each check and throughout each, pay. But yeah, that it's a scary thing making that much money. And there are people that I do see in the Siege scene and other scenes that, they come into the scene, they start seeing that money because you aren't making, 5,000, 6,000, 3,000, 4,000, any of that money, four figures, at your 9-to-5 job in 1 month. And I see these people just blowing it. And I'm just like, I get it. Like, it's cool to make that much money. I was there. I've been there, done that. But as I've gotten older and just realized, the worth of money and how long, saving really like matters and like what it really does for you in the future than, buying frivolous things. And I'm not saying like don't splurge yourself, but like know what you can spend and what you can't spend. And what I've learned throughout my spending habits is if I can buy something 4 times over and be okay, then I'll buy something expensive. But on that same note, whenever I do get checks, I make sure, one, I put some away, but also I make sure with every paycheck, I don't even get 50% close to what I spent that like through that paycheck. Like, I give myself a little bit of spending, just the necessities, whatever, but I make sure that I never go over. And that I always, if I do come close, which I never do really, is breaking even. Like, so Christmas, I'm about to be frugal. I'm frugal as shit right now. But that's for Christmas. It's an exception. But I'm making sure that what I spent, the next 2 paychecks, I'm going to double off that. So that way it puts me still in a good spot and still in the green and never just in a middle or bottom area.
So when it comes to the pro player life, I feel like there's not a whole lot of conversation when it comes to, income, balancing that, getting an accountant, all these different things. For those who are pro players who are listening to this or aspiring pro players, like what's like the one important life lesson that you learned when it came to managing your money? Like what's like the one important thing that you want people to walk away remembering?
Geez. I mean, for me, and I think I can speak for a lot of pro players when this, like, you're living at home the majority of the time until you get brought into a team house. And now I actually have my own place with my girlfriend and some roommates. And to me, I always envied those people in my life that, moved out at 18, did that at 19, especially at this day and age. It is a lot harder to do that versus back when our parents were, living on their own. Like, there's a big difference. And I think it is important to save money, even living at home. But for me, I think the big thing is just to like realize the money that you're making, it's not going to be forever. You might be making this giant lump sum, but again, esports is a very cutthroat career that, shit, you made 10,000 those past 2 months and now your career's over. Something happened. You don't have that income anymore. What were you doing with that money? Like, are you in a position where, you can try to find something and that you still have some money to lean back on, that, you aren't hurting if you spend something and, trying to figure out your way? Or did you spend everything and now you don't have it and now you're worse than where you were before? So I think it's very important to realize what you're making, understand that it's not a forever thing. Try to work, and I'm someone that gives the best advice, but I also don't follow my own advice in some situations, because here, like, I should be marketing myself a lot more than I currently am now, because at the end of the day, I'm losing out on money, and money obviously does make the world go round, unfortunately. But I myself also, and granted, I'm in a good spot, but I can be doing a lot more to, further my career even outside of my professional scene. So for me, it's, realize what you're making, understand what you're putting out as a player, content creator, whatever it is, and make sure that you can create that wealth and keep it coming and not just blowing it all. And then once it's all done, like then you're just back to like you didn't even do any of that in the first place.
Yo, Erin, you know what's actually funny about Laxing? So when I first
What?
came into the scene, Laxing and Fox, they were actually part of a meme because in North America, like the salaries were higher, right? And it's so like
we dress to
had,
impress.
Yo, that's an understatement. Y'all flexed where you was about to bust a vein, yo. They were rocking like Balenciagas and like Gucci backpacks and shit, living life, yo. So when every time they would lose, you would see like Pengu or someone on the TL talk about, yeah, they spent less time buying Balenciagas, they be winning, whatever. And it's like, okay, relax. But it's good to see that you're so much smarter with money. To be honest, Gabe.
But that's the thing, though. Like even with me and Fox doing that, what did it do for us? It created us a brand for us. It created people knowing us.
True.
You gotta spend money to make money too. So like, I don't want to say, and you also don't need to be, you don't need to be spending millions, hundreds, thousands, but like, it is important that at least if you are spending money and like creating something of yourself and like making that well known, you're doing yourself a favor. And that's exactly what me and Fox did, Sure, people wanted to meme about it, but people also were like, damn, Fox and Lax look good. Like, look what they're wearing. And then we also created our scene where people then were buying Yeezys.
Yep.
People then were buying. So like we already went through that, but we started something. Our team has always been a trendsetter in terms of like fashion, me and Fox especially. But like, that gained us traction. People knew us as, we were the two best looking guys that knew how to dress in the scene. We both had our two different styles, but they both were very attractive styles. They both look good on us. And, it worked for us. So, I mean, I wasn't hurting at the end of the day of it.
I mean,
it's not my fault I can look good.
Balenciaga, I have to say, you automatically, just from what I'm hearing, and I got to see it, but from what I'm hearing, you're dressing better than, like, I would say 90% of esports, period.
But I will say, like, so that was a phase that I went through. Now, like, I still do splurge on myself, but now I like to have more classier look. I like to look more dressed up. Like now, if I'm buying designer stuff, I'm buying, like Chelsea boots or something that, that looks a little more professional that, and especially in the esports world, there's this big thing, or maybe not as much anymore, but, back then it was like, oh, you're either super fat or you're super skinny or you're ugly or you're this. And there's a whole mosh pit of that everywhere around the world. But I think it's important to take my fashion, my design, everything like that, and create something out of it. And to, try to look apart from a vast majority or a select group or even just in my scene, because it makes me stand out. And that goes even with personality, which is why Velly, on top of like a lot of casts that I've seen, like he stands out because he's himself. And I think it's just important to have all those things into one character that can keep your career going in esports.
Yeah.
You're about to make me mad. Go ahead.
Oh, no, but I was going to say, do you ever... Okay, so by standing out, automatically when you stand out, you become the quote-unquote face of whatever your team or your space is. The same way that, like, you mentioned Velly when it came to, our success, and then some
and
of
the
the other
same thing
stuff.
with you being a co-owner of Exa,
face of that point. No, but do you ever feel like, it's important to stand out, obviously, from a business perspective and just standing out by being yourself. But there comes the consequences of standing out, right? Like, how do you balance, or how do you, I guess, handle the pressure that come with standing out? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happens to your team, doesn't matter what happens to your org, doesn't matter what happens to the broadcast when it comes to Velly. If something goes wrong because you stand out and you're the first person that's on their mind, you're the first person they're going to target and go after. That's what happened to me when it came to stuff with our Rainbow Six team. People were coming at me and I'm like, dog, I'm in a different department. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think any attraction, whether it's negative or positive, is huge to your brand. So when someone's talking shit about me, again, I really don't fucking care. Like, sure, you might see me interact with someone and say something to them or reply back to something, because I'm not going to sit there and just let everyone walk on me. And I think it's important not to, just let everyone walk on you, because then other people see that. Because let's be honest, most people on the internet are little fucking, like, they're scared. They wouldn't say this shit in person, and they also don't want confrontation. And let me tell you, I'm all for confrontation. For anyone out there that does want to say shit to me.
Show the guns, boy.
They're a work in progress right now because I've had to take breaks. But I definitely make it known that, if someone does want to get into me, someone does really want to come out and attack me, like I'm gonna stick up for myself. I'm gonna make it very clear that I'm gonna put people, because if someone's gonna start shit with me, I can promise you that I'm gonna end it. And I'm going to make it very clear that no one is just going to like try to take advantage of me, say whatever they want, and feel like there's nothing that's going to follow back off that, which I think has done me more justice doing that than not saying things to others, or when I say a tweet or something like that I firmly believe in and people try to project whatever they want, like that I shut shit down, because then other people see it as like, oh, well, I don't want to have this whole tweet, this whole thread of him going off on me and then other people tagging in. So like it deters people. But obviously, going back to your question, like how do I deal with it or balance it? Obviously, I take the positives. I let all the positives. I greet all the positives with open arms. But I also, on that same note, I also greet the negatives because it's still more interaction. People are seeing it on their timeline. People are seeing what's going on. People are then taking my side and be like, oh, I actually like what Laxing is saying. I actually like where he stands, especially on politics, other like women's rights. So like not that long ago with Texas, trying to ban abortions for women. Like I tweeted, like it's very important to women to have the right to their own body. No man should ever be making a decision what women can do with their bodies. I don't fucking care who you are. And if you are a guy, if you're a man, and you stand by saying that like women shouldn't be able to have a right to their body, you don't have any woman figure in your life. Like I feel fucking sorry for you because you are a degenerate. That means you don't even value your own mother, because how I treat women, how I view women is exactly how I view my parents' relationship. Like my dad is a big figure in my life. My mom is an even bigger figure in my life. My mom is a huge role model in my life that I will always look up to. And not to discredit my dad, I absolutely love my fucking dad to death, and I would do anything for both of them. But in terms of that, my mom is my biggest superhero, my biggest fan, someone I look up to and like at a vast amount. And it's just, that's how I treat everything around that. Everything around those topics is, how I'd want my mom treated, how I'd want my mom to be doing. Like, so, into all that stuff, I think, I stand by what I say. And again, it goes back into, obviously there's negatives that people want to say to me about it, but I stand my ground and I make sure that it's clear that I'm sticking with it. I don't give a shit what someone says if it's negative, because at the end of the day, it's more interaction, it's more traction, it's more people then getting a different view on my side with those negative experiences, and then also joining my side, which is also gaining me more of a following, because then there's more people that know me, not just for an esports, but because I'm actually like, I'm a human being. I'm not just about gaming. I actually have a fucking mind. I actually have a place in a spot that, really needs support. So that's my take with the negatives.
Yeah, the word that we're thinking about is brand awareness. You're a very brand conscious minded individual. So,
and not that I take advantage of it. I am very aware of my brand, but I definitely, there's many fields in where I could, step that up and make more out of it.
That's my question. Okay. So, all right, behind the scenes, I don't know if I've told you now, but I have fought. And I was ignored, but I definitely fought for individuals. No, I'm saying I've outright fought for you and Fox to get more playtime.
Yep.
I've gone to Face It and Ubisoft, and I said, you guys have something special right now. I was like, take a look around you. We're in a new era of gamers, right? Of gaming, to where gamers, we're bringing in more style. We look better. We're influencers, on-air talent and pro players alike, right? And I said, take a look at Oxygen right now. I think you guys were Reciprocity at the time. I said, take a look at this team. I said, you have Fox and you have Laxing. And I said, God damn. I said, they're like models. They're beautiful. They're both ridiculously in shape. This is when you was lifting out of control. I'm like, yo, these boys walk around in, designer. They are literally influencers unlike you've ever seen as a pro player, and this could change the perception of professional gaming worldwide. If you throw these guys as the faces of your game, oh my God, the effect that you can have from it. We're talking about sponsorships from designers, bringing in more faces, bringing in, I mean, shit, fuck it, even more women and more people, because, good looks sell at the end of the day. I said, you guys need to push them big time. So my question to you is, my question to you is, if you were, with your position, everything that we've spoken about, brand awareness and whatnot, what do you think could help your cause as a professional player from getting some, any type of assistance from Ubisoft, Face It, your org, whoever it might be, to help change the way things are looked at in esports and to also grow you at the end of the day?
I mean, I think it's important for an esports scene to have faces of the scene, and like some of the faces that we've had in our scene aren't really big personalities in terms of social media, interviews, whatever the case. Like it's very basic things, and I think some of the faces that we've dry. Some of the faces that we have had, like they deserve to be some of the faces that they have because the success that they had, and that doesn't take away any success that me and Fox have had either, but I think it's just important for a scene, trying to be established to, have faces, have characters in it that isn't just, okay, this is this team, this is this team, this is this team, this is their star player, this is their star player, this is their duo, this is their duo, blah, blah, blah. Like, actually be like, these are the players. This is the in-depth, of who they are, like what they stand for, this, that. Like, I think it's important to have those things that I don't think a lot of esports scenes do in general. I think it's important to get a deep dive of what your professional players are about or what lives they came from, whether some are the same or some are very different. And I can tell you that my life compared to a lot of other pro players in my scene, I have a very different upbringing than they have. And you look at professional sports, they get little documentaries on some of their players, or they get little interviews with their players, and they're important details. They're important, like, oh, what made you this? Who made you this? How did this happen? But you don't really get that a lot in esports. And even when those do happen, they don't even get aired. They aren't shown to the public. They aren't publicized by the big, company that's, doing this all. And I think that should be happening more and more in the esports scene in general, whether it's Siege, whether it's Counter-Strike, whether it's League of Legends. Like, there needs to be more interactment with the teams, with the players, that builds hype around them, builds an actual character around them, aside from this is just Laxing or this is just Fox in an esport. Like, there needs to be, oh, this is who they are. This is how they got to where they are. This is what made them who they are. This is their background. And like, that should be like the normal thing in esports. You should want to get to know your players, not just them showing up on screen.
Do you feel like it's a two-way street problem? And I agree.
Oh, 100%. It's 100%.
Because I feel like there's, we had a conversation about it. I feel like when we look at just media within esports, it's very much very analytical sometimes, and also I think that the standard formats of journalism is not there in esports.
And let me say this, just to like not to interrupt you, Erin, just to like go on with what you're saying. I think esports companies as well, on top of this, also need to ask serious questions, not just the analytics side of things. Like, people need to hear the harsh truth of things, of how some players got brought up or what they experienced to get to where they are. Why are football players, basketball players, soccer players, baseball players, whatever it is, be able to talk about the in-depth life, like, oh, they were in a gang, they were in the wrong crowds, they were doing this, they were doing that, but they found their sport that really was an outlet for them, and they worked with that, they honed all their energy into that, and then they created success. Like, why do we not hear that more from players? Why do people not want to know those stories?
But devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know what you're about to say.
But also, is it also part of it is that pro players, like, for example, if they lose or something, right? Teams and pro players can pass and not do interviews. Do you feel like part of it is, yes, I do think it's broadcasting. I also do think it's teams. But also, do you think that it's pro players as well that are kind of part of the problem with that?
Both are definitely at fault. At least in my experience. I mean, I love doing interviews. I love being in front of the camera. I love talking. I'm just a talker in general. Velly knows that, and I'm sure you're experiencing it now. Like, I keep, I might be boring you guys with some of the rants I'm going on.
Shut up.
But I think it's like a 60-40 situation. I think it's 60% on the producing side of things to actually want to like get players to do it. And then on that, or maybe like a 70-30. And then that other 30 is players don't have a personality. Players don't know how to talk. Players don't know how to be in front of a camera. Players don't know how to keep a conversation going. So yeah, it's definitely devil's advocate for sure. But I think it's still something that isn't pushed. I still think from a producing side of things, they don't push it. because why do they need it? But how I look at it, and just playing traditional sports growing up, watching traditional sports, seeing players that I've never heard of or really paid attention to, but I get to know their backstory and like who they are as a person, and all the hardships they went through, whether it was gang relations, whether it was drugs, whether it was a bad family, or whatever the case. Like, I hear about it, and that's just not something that I hear in esports. I hear the basic thing, like, oh, you played games when you were growing up. That's cool. Right? You saw professional play. You want to be a professional player? Cool. He wanted to be a professional player. It's like, it's just so small things that it's like everyone can fucking relate to that. Literally everyone can relate. That's a professional gamer. In the gaming worlds, we all like games. We all wanted to make it a career. We made it our career. But what were the challenges going into that made us stick out more than the rest? Because let's be honest, with all three of us here, or even Trooper, you can get in here, is, this is an industry that you are competing against your person to your left, to your right, behind you, on top of you. Like, it is competition. And that goes into what we were talking about, even with pay, is, you being more professional and better at what you're doing than someone else's naturally will probably bring you more money than just being the person that's in the back, sitting there, just taking whatever, job you can, not putting yourself out there, not marketing yourself. Like, it all goes hand in hand.
Yo,
so what's your backstory?
Wait, let me just say this real quick, because that's loaded. Let me say this. I don't know why, Lax and Erin, I don't know why esports has this perception of itself, and it's the people that are higher up. And
I want to say this too, organizations as well. Organizations should also be pushing for that content as well. Not just the producers.
And it all starts with like the small things, the minute things about how the way we dress on broadcast. Like, we don't need to be suit and tie. We're not formal. We're not serious. This is esports. It's video games. Life is a party in our world, and we need to embrace it. So when it comes time for interviews, when you have standout personalities, Laxing knows. In esports, we avoid villains. The esports that aren't aware, they avoid villains. They avoid trash talk to the fullest extent. They avoid any type of persona that is not, well, hello there, I am a 4.0 student and I play video games. I'm going to represent your league, right? No, that's not what esports want, and that's not what the fuck the people care about that watch it. We want the real raw truth of what's going on.
I fucking heard the band kids in high school and the choir kids talking shit about the other high schools. Like, I don't want to hear just because people like are in different things that there wasn't shit talking or like, that is literally competitive sports.
I was told not to take it too far.
That's literally what it is.
I've been told not to take it too far when it comes to talking about.
But I will say, in terms of like the trash talk, obviously there is right and wrongs of doing it. There's definitely lines that can be crossed, and then there's levels, where it's like you aren't crossing the line. You're just, you're in a competitive nature. That is what it is. And I think everyone has that competitive side. And I mean, shit, I've definitely there. In scrims, I probably talk shit about every pro player in the scene. Doesn't mean outside of that scrim, I think that they're that. It's just in that moment, that's what the feelings are. That's what it is. But by any means, I don't hold that to them after that. I also think that's another thing, is like, some people, when they do feel the need to talk shit, like, they gotta fucking like keep to that, because that's just, they already said it, so they gotta stick by, like, which I don't believe that's true. And on that same note, is I will always respect people in this industry, and even for myself, even if I don't like you, even if I don't fuck with you, even if whatever, I will always give the people the respect that have like created their success. I will never take something away from someone when they have done something, they have had success. Doesn't mean I like you, doesn't mean I gotta be best friends with you, doesn't mean I gotta like you at the end of the day, but I will always give you the respect of like what you've done. I'll never take that away. And a lot of people feel like just because they like someone, they have to discredit them no matter what they've done throughout their career, what they did before. Like, and I hate that. I actually can't stand that. Like, just because you don't like someone, that instantly like discredits anything that they've done. I can't stand that shit.
Okay. Yes and no. I will say that it depends what their success has stemmed from. I don't respect people whose success is, and I wouldn't say success. I would say more so brand awareness, increased brand awareness. That's probably better to say, right? I don't respect people who have increased brand awareness who stem from things like derogatory language, racism,
right.
sexism.
So let me double back on that. So like in something like, let me give an example. Like, if someone wants to talk shit about me, you know, whether it's a pro player, whether it's whatever, like for whatever reason. But they just like the whole reason of them talking shit, like doesn't matter what I did in the scene, doesn't matter what I did, like, you know, won championships, whatever. Like they discredit all of that just because they don't like me. Like that's the shit I don't like. Like even if I don't like another pro player, I will still be like, you know, I have respect that you did this, you did that. Like I said, doesn't mean that I like you, doesn't mean that I need to like you, doesn't need to be friends with you, but I will still always give you that respect in what you did. Like, you know, you won this, you won that. Like I'll never take that away from someone. Obviously, there's definitely still a fine line with that. Obviously, like I will never, you know, if someone had great success and then they turn into this racist or this bigot, whatever, like, of course, then it's like, fuck that, you know, that shit's out of the question. But in terms of like the competitive nature and like throughout just like the competitive career, no matter how much I might dislike someone or not like them, I will never discredit them and what they accomplished in their career. And like a lot of people like do that. And it's like frustrating because it's like they don't know how to control their emotions and like everything has to be negative about them no matter what. And I just can't do that.
There are levels to it though. I think it should be accepted. I am gonna end this because Erin, I'm gonna get into what you want to ask him definitely. But I will say this: in esports, is very black, white, in different scenes. In one scene, I can get fired for saying a team is trash. And I put a trash can on the desk. I had a call an hour ago where I was told, hey, we want you and you can put as many trash cans on the desk as you want. We'll pay you more than that other game did. So there's a lot of learning in esports. We're in our this is young, and I hope it changes.
Oh, it's super young,
man. Bring on the villains, bring on the attitude, bring on the good trash talk, and esports will be so vibrant more than you would ever imagine. But Erin, I think it's time we get into some good shit.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about your upbringing, Laxing, off camera, and we know it's definitely like a story you want to tell. So for those who don't know, if you don't mind me adding some context. So Laxing, you know, his upbringing was very, very different from what people traditionally think of when they look at pro players in the space. I think sometimes when people look at pro players, they don't
They were coddled by mommy and daddy.
Yeah, or they see the hardships or certain struggles that they go through. So for you, what was your, you know, upbringing, and what were some of the things that you mentioned earlier about how you did some things that you regretted before and all these different things? Walk us through it. Walk us through 100%. Your life.
So, I mean, my family, it's my brother, my mom and dad. I have a great family on both sides. There's nothing negative about any of them. I love every single one of my family to death. And how I brought myself up, I kind of, you know, was a rebel from my brother. My brother was like super good in school. You know, he definitely made sure he was doing all that. Me and him were both in sports, whatever. But going into like my early middle school, it really started in middle school. I really just started hanging out with bad crowds, started just doing a lot of stupid shit. And that kind of progressively kept going on further and further. And then I got into high school. And, you know, and like, again, I came from a middle-class family. You know, my parents would provide and give me anything that I ever wanted if I really needed it. But, you know, they definitely made me and my brother work for what we wanted. But I also wanted to always push things a step further. I always wanted to learn things the hard way, you know, when I didn't need to. I always pushed it. And so, you know, I started getting involved in drugs. I started doing drugs. I started selling drugs. And like, you know, that was my life for quite a bit. And I was like, you know, like this, you know, seeing the money that I can make. And I was just like, why the fuck would anyone want to work at a normal job when you can do this? And, you know, I had so many different encounters and experiences in that, like, you know, held at gunpoint 2 times. You know, there's been a lot of shit in that definitely, you know, and even at those moments, it still didn't change who I was. I think it more numbed me to a lot of things than it actually did good for me. It kind of was like, oh, this is kind of how it is, you know, like this is what's expected, you know, whatever, on to the next thing. And again, like there was really no reason for any of this because I had a caring, loving family that have done anything for me. I just made a lot of the terrible decisions in my life that I did. And on that same note, though, I was always passionate about gaming. And I, like, looking back on it now, like, I look at gaming as a huge outlet because in some of those instances when I was invited to go do something or that definitely wasn't the right thing to be doing, I was like, no, I'm playing video games. Or I made up an excuse because I was playing video games. And I had to think, you know, had I not been playing video games that night, had I not been doing something gaming related, would, you know, something bad really happen to me? Would I still be here to this day? Like, would just something bad happen in my life that could have, you know, progressively made my life a million times worse than kind of what I was doing. And another thing that, you know, I want to bring up is what I think also made it hard for me in life is I was friends with a lot of people, but at the same time I wasn't. And I went through a lot of hardships in life and never had anyone to go to. I never could reach out and talk to someone. Every time I did reach out and try to talk to someone about my problems, I was always met with, oh, I'll text you back later. Oh, I'll call you back later. This, that. And never would happen. Like, I'd always just deal with everything on my own. And like, I've always been, and even to this day, I'm more of a giver than I am a taker. I always enjoy helping others people than, you know, I know people won't help me. And, you know, that's definitely been a lesson throughout life that, you know, I'm still learning to this day, because, you know, it does suck being in those hard places and not having anyone to go to, because no one wants to go to their parents and talk about their life problems. I don't think anyone wants to do that shit. Go to your brother. Like, you want someone outside of your family to talk to. And in so many of those different bad situations in my life, I just never had anyone that I could go to, never anyone that I trusted really well. I had a best friend, but even then, me and him were both still doing the same thing. So it was kind of like very redundant to go talk to him about my problems when we were kind of like in the same fucking area. So yeah, I mean, a lot of those things transpired in my life. And what really, like, a big changing point in my life was when I actually got jumped and robbed my first time. I got into a car. I was going to make a deal with some people that I didn't know. It was through mutuals, and, you know, and I already had been held at gunpoint. So, like, you know, like, I got in a fucking stranger's car with drugs, and, you know, they pulled up to, and it's actually crazy thinking about it now, because my awareness and how I look at things and my perspective of things is so different now, that I am constantly analyzing my surroundings, especially after this moment. Was because when we were driving around, they ended up like asking me, you know, like, where's the nearest gas station? And I was like, there's just one over here. But like, they weren't listening to my directions, which already then to me was like, what the fuck is going on? You know, like, this is weird. And then sure enough, like, they end up pulling up to this entrance way to this parkway, and all of a sudden 2 guys come up, and then one goes around his side and he stops the car. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I quickly realized, like, oh, this is for me. And then out of nowhere, the one guy goes around, one guy opens up my car side in the back seat and instantly punches me in my face, and they tried to keep me in the car. So like, I don't know if they were going to drive off, whatever. Like, they definitely tried to keep me in the car, but I just had this fight or flight response that I just instantly started fighting back. I pushed myself out of the car. I got on top of the other guy, and then as I was on top of the other guy came and pushed me off. And this is like, I'm telling you, like, I remember this clear as day. And as I was getting up to like get back on my feet, I got kicked in my mouth. And that is something, like, it was so weird to me, because like, think of like everyone, you guys have seen Saving Private Ryan, right? So in that moment, in that shell shock moment where your ears are ringing, you're seeing everything going on, but you're like not feeling everything. So like, when I got kicked in my mouth, like, I kind of got like a little unconscious there, but like, I was still there. I still was getting hit. I was still getting punched. I was getting kicked in my head, but like, I wasn't feeling anything. I couldn't scream. I couldn't yell. Like, I was just sitting there taking it. And like, this was probably going on for like 2 to 3 minutes of just me getting kicked and punched in my head, stomach, whatever. And I just faintly heard like, give me your phone or your wallet. And like, in this moment of me being hit and everything, I was just like, am I about to lose my life over like my wallet and my fucking phone? Like, I don't give a fuck about any of this. So, like, I gave them my shit. They ended up driving off. And I just like paced back and forth. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing in life? You know, like, I could have just been killed right there. Like, I could have been stabbed. I could have been shot. You know, what would have happened if they would have kept me in the car? Like, what, you know, like, and drugs is a scary thing. And like, I want people to know that with my experience, you know, people will kill you over a small amount. People will stab you over an amount. People don't care about your well-being when you're in that world. Like, people do not care. It is a dog-eat-dog world, and it's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that I would ever want someone to experience in terms of just, you know, the jumping aspect that I witnessed. Like, just, you know, if you can avoid it completely. I know some people, you know, you're brought up around it, which I wasn't. I made that decision. but I know it's a hard thing. And then, the cash flow that comes with it, it's pretty fucking crazy, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it at the end of the day, because it only takes one time for anything to happen that could be catastrophic in your life. But again, going back to that, in that moment, I was pacing back and forth. I don't know what the fuck was going on. I had a bloody nose. My lip was busted. And I walked home like 15 minutes, and I got home and I told my parents, because my mom and dad started panicking. And like, that was another shock to me, was seeing my parents' reaction and my mom like worrying, like, what the fuck just happened? I was like, I just got robbed or whatever. And then as like, they called the police, and then I told my mom, I was like, I was selling drugs. And then both my parents immediately were like, you're fucking dumbass. You are fucking stupid. And I couldn't sit there and defend myself. I was like, yeah, I am fucking stupid. I am fucking dumb. So like, then this whole, like, that was another realization to me for like, this is not the life that I want. Like, I do not want to worry my parents. I do not want to put myself in these situations. And then the cops came. I made up a lie because I didn't, I'm not going to fucking tell them, oh, I was selling drugs. And so like, that whole moment for me was like a huge thing. Like, I just need to not do this shit anymore. This shit isn't worth it. I need to focus on bettering my life. And in that also same moment was another positive that came in my life, because then I started working out. And I was always in sports. I was always lean. I was always fit. I was like a skinny buff. But then like, I wanted to get bigger. And like, that was another thing for me. And working out on top of gaming actually really boosted my mental. A lot of the thing about working out is it's all on you. Like, that is definitely something in life that no one's going to make you bigger. No one's going to make you work hard. And working out really like applied a lot of things into my life in terms of, if you want something, you got to go after it every single day. It doesn't matter if you're seeing progress now. It doesn't matter if you're seeing progress tomorrow. Like, over time, you will see progress. And that went with my working out. That went with my gaming, because then I started, just working regular jobs. I started doing my gaming, and then my professional gaming started taking off. I was still working out, and like, all those things started to like come together in my life. And when I look back on it now, like, I am thankful that I am here to this day. And I am thankful that I have my past to reflect on, because it's made me who I am today. And it's made me a lot more mindful of my surroundings, who I am as a person, how life really is outside of living with my parents and being, cared for and whatnot, and having to do it by myself. It really just, all those experiences like really excelled who I am as a person. And again, looking back on it, it was fucking stupid. I would never do it again. If I could go back, you always hear, if I could go back, I'd have done this differently. Truthfully, I don't think if I could go back, I would have done it differently, because the experience that I got from that was super important to creating who I am today. Like, yes, it was fucking awful. Yes, it was terrible, the things that I went through and experienced, but I took from those negatives and turned them into very positives into my life, that now I feel like I'm on top of the world and where I am in my life. I know where I was and where I am now, and that character and who I was is no longer even a figment in my imagination. Like, that's just not who I am. That's not who I ever was. It was a phase. It was a shitty phase. But just, again, from all those experiences, has really molded me and changed me into who I am today. And I am extremely fucking proud of who I am to this day and what I've accomplished and what I've done. And seeing my parents happy and not having to ever worry about me. And, I can take care of my parents. I can buy them things. I can do things for them. There's no better feeling than making your parents proud. And I know they were worried for a long time with me, like what was going to happen. They didn't really have to worry about my brother. He was always the one that was on top of everything, but I was the one that wanted to do the other route. So reflecting back on those things and just, making my parents proud, making my parents happy, showing them that, I wasn't this child that, just didn't fucking make it, didn't fucking do anything with their life. It was a very big motivating point for me, because I want, unfortunately, parents passed away at some point in time, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to make my parents proud at the end of the day. And what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off,
man. Oh, no. I mean, it was just, I'm even getting emotional talking about this, talking about my parents and like how proud I've made of them. But like that's something that keeps me moving every day, is because I always want to keep making sure that my parents know that they had 2 sons that they raised right, and that they raised to have a very good work ethic and a very good personality to succeed in life. So
hearing that, it's like, in a way, you were giving a second chance at, at life. I mean, realistically, that's really it, right? What you did, you could have lost your life. We wouldn't even be here talking to you today. And you were in a profession where you were putting it all on the line to make the most of it. And you're doing the same thing again as a professional player slash influencer. And that's absolutely crazy. This is something that I wish that I heard whenever you talk about, why do you really want to win this event? I don't want to hear about you cooking a steak. I'm
I don't want to hear about me cooking a fucking steak.
I don't want to hear about you cooking a steak for the 30th fucking time. I don't want to hear about you doing a push-up for the 100th fucking time. I'm going to hear about, this is life for me, because what I've gone through before, like, it's real. My question to you is, you're the Laxing that we know right now. Even despite this interview, we just know you're a pro player Laxing that cooks steaks and works out, because that's all they know how to do content with you.
Yeah.
My question
I
is,
love it.
If it wasn't for professional gaming, where would Gabriel be today?
I'd probably be doing something with personal training, because that's what I went to school for and got certified in. Yeah, I got certified, and then my professional gaming career actually took off there. And, working out became something that just popped up in my life at that time, or like a couple years prior to that. But no, I always told myself from the moment during all those hard times and through that shit, that I told myself, I want to be a professional gamer. Like, this is what I do. And that's why I was saying, in some of those situations in my life, if I hadn't been gaming, if I wasn't gaming, like, what would have happened if I'd have went to do some of the things that, I was offered to go do, or this, that, like, what could have happened, which that's why I'm saying, like, gaming for me was a huge outlet, because I think in a lot of different areas, it saved me from going down even further in a path that I think that I could have. And again, the mental strain that put on me and everything, like, it has definitely made me a lot stronger as an individual of dealing with things, because it's definitely something that I took from that as a whole, and especially kind of being by myself and not having people to go to talk to, is life doesn't necessarily get easier. It becomes easier to work with and deal with. And I found in most situations is nothing gets easier in life than what you can make of it. If you want to be that small percentage that, wants it to just blow over or have someone else deal with your bullshit, like, sure. But that's not who I am. Like, I want to work to make the change. I want to work to make it better, even if it is hard, because again, I don't think life gets easier. I think it just matters how you manage it. And that's what makes life easier.
Speaking about managing, sorry, Velly, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I know this has been a very big conversation when it comes to pro players. It's like the support when it comes to either mental health or, just any kind of support, because if you obviously have gone through such a traumatic experience, and others, and maybe other people maybe people have, may need some sort of rehab assistance or stuff like that. So as a pro player, like, what would you hope to see the industry do when it comes to supporting the pro players? Not when it comes to the competitive side, because I feel like that's already happening, but when it comes to the personal developmental side, because you said, like, you didn't feel like you could talk to anyone outside of your family. And then you have to add on top of that, if someone's already feeling that, you add on top of it the pressure of competing at a high level. So as a pro player, what would you like to see?
Therapy, please.
Definitely, probably like outlets to reach out and talk to someone that's provided through the org. I mean, through the publisher, or even orgs. Just even through my career, just even like not even like talk about my past, but just a little bit of the past while I was competing in esports. So, there was at one point in my, and I just want to make this clear for a lot of esports players, and I know you can relate, is this job is kind of 24/7. There's not really a lot of time for breaks. There's not a time for rest. There's not a lot of time for grief. I went through a very significant, I might get a little touchy on this one, but I found out my mom potentially had cancer, and that, being like a huge world to me. And then found out my dog also had cancer that has been with me my entire life. It was like a very traumatic experience. and hearing it, because it was also kept from me. My mom didn't want to worry me. My mom didn't want to worry my brother. I only heard it through conversation and then brought it up and called him out, like, what the fuck is going on with mom? And thank God it didn't turn out to be cancer, but she did have a lump. And, you know, like, she was even worried, but she was doing her best. And I will always say, moms are the strongest fucking things on the planet, are the strongest beings, humans on the fucking planet. Your mother is the strongest fucking person, because my mom was fighting back her tears and her worries to, like, make sure. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to get emotional about this.
But, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Hold up.
Take your time.
But yeah, she was fighting back her, you know, emotions to make sure that I was okay, my dad was okay, my brother was okay, and also on top of, you know, our dog. And, this is embarrassing.
No.
No, not at all. Not at all. Go ahead.
Give me 1 second. This is tough. But no, you know, she was fighting back all those emotions, and, you know, I had to quickly grasp my career at the same time, because I was still competing. I was flying to tournaments. I was doing all that in the back of my fucking head, and, like, that is dramatic. It's jeez, this is fucking
No, it's okay. Listen, it's okay.
It's a lot that weighs on you, because you don't have time to grieve over it. You have to maintain yourself. You have to play at your highest level. And I was still competing. I ended up placing, I think, the highest in the event. I ended up playing better than everyone, at the highest stats, at the highest everything. And that was going on in the back of my head. And throughout my life, again, like, I don't express a lot of my emotions, but, you know, a lot of my teammates didn't know what was going on. And that's just stuff that I've learned, and just throughout experiences throughout time, like, I've learned that, you know, I'm the only one that's going to be able to make this difference. Like, yes, you know, my pro teammates can feel bad for me, but I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to, you know, cause them not to have success. And that's what sucks about a team sport, esport, is you are also relied on. And also, being a top player, you're relied on to perform. You're relied on to be, you know, a staple of your team. And you don't have those moments to grieve. You don't have that time to feel sorry for yourself, because you're competing. You have to play at your best. So, like, I do wish in esports, when people go through those times, that they actually get the break, or they get a breather without being judged, or without being like, oh, well, you clearly don't want. Because then there's some immature people that are like, you know, we all go through something. Like, why can't you get it together? Like, I think everyone should be allowed to be able to grieve, allowed to feel sorry, allowed to get some space without any repercussions. Because the second you think about it is like, oh, if I take a break, is my team going to start thinking about me wrong? Are they going to think I'm not dedicated? And then you get in your own head about something else that doesn't even need to be there, which I'm thankful that I've had the teammates that I've had throughout my career, that I've always been supportive, I've always had my back. But, like, that's hard to find too, you know, to have people that you can really trust and really view as family. And I think it's just something that needs to really be looked over, as the mental health of not even just players, but also casters. Like, I know what casters go through. Like, you guys are always going through shit as well. And, you know, you're expected to do this, you're expected to do that, you're expected to do the next show, this, that. And, like, there needs to be a time where players, casters, all the staff can get the space, get the break that they need to reset, because that is not given. Especially, and I'm just talking in the player level, that shit is not given. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life, tough shit, you know, you got to continue on, you got to focus on. But, like, in those moments, that shit is hard. And that's just, you know, one of many catastrophic moments or things that have happened in my life that I've had to deal with, on top of competing and still maintaining my spot and maintaining my position. And it does suck, because that's another thing in esports that doesn't get talked about, is the mental health and what it really takes to be in this industry, because it is mentally exhausting. It is mentally strenuous on you, and you just don't have time for it. It's like, okay, well, this is what either makes or break you, or, you know, that's it.
You know what, Gabriel? I'm really happy that you shared your life with us.
Yeah.
Dog, I've known you for a hot minute, and you've hinted a few things about your life to me. And I already said, like, I keep distant from a lot of pro players, like, because of, you know, just business. But you really come off as an individual with a good head on the shoulders. Like
I
I
appreciate
love
that.
covering you. Love what you're doing for the game. I love all of that, man. We are about to do our spaces soon,
Okay.
but to close this episode, man, I just want to say thank you. Like genuinely thank you. Um, my question to you is, what's next for you? Like, have you thought about retirement? If so, what is your end game really? Where are we gonna see you at? What can we expect to see Laxing doing in the future when he's done dumping on kids on the road, man, and having 5K clutches and whatnot?
I think every player's like thought about retirement at some point, but it's came in my mind, but it's not something that I was ever like, yeah, that's something that I want to do. Like I want to keep competing for as long as I can. I'm a competitor. I've been doing this again for 6 years, and I haven't missed a day. I don't plan to miss a day. If whenever that time comes, that time comes. But I just know whatever it is, I'm not planning for that. I'm not thinking about it because I don't want to think about it. Because I know whatever happens after my professional career, I'm going to focus just as hard and, still maintain success in my life. So for right now, I'm going to focus on what I have worked towards my entire life and still working towards to this day. And that is being a professional player. So I'm going to keep this going for as long as I possibly can. And whenever that time comes, that is what it is. But if there's at any chance of me being a player until I'm ready to retire, then the player is going to always be my first focus. And then whatever comes after that will be, my second, third, fourth, fifth focus.
What do you want to add on top? Because as a pro player, when you're in for a very long time, and this is not just pro player in esports, but even in traditional sports, we see where eventually they have to add more things on to just playing. Because like you said, your career can come and go in a second, in a snap.
Mm-hmm.
But is there anything that you, obviously competing is number one, but is there anything that you would like to do to build on that framework so that you can increase your longevity for yourself?
I mean, I think, whenever the time does come, whether I go into casting, whether I go into commentating or analytics.
Come on over, baby.
Whatever it is, whether I go into, the YouTube side of thing with like workout stuff or Twitch streaming, like I definitely, no matter what, I want to stay in the gaming world, no matter what I'm doing. I think so far in Siege, I've definitely solidified a name in myself in an esport, which I busted my ass off for. So I don't really know exactly. Like I said, I just know whatever I decide to do after professional play, that I will make it fucking happen. I am very driven. I'm a very hard worker. And like I said, whenever that time comes, it comes. But I know I'm not going to sit there and dwell on anything or whatever. Like when I decide to retire is when I decide to retire. I'm not going to let anyone make that for me. And then I'll just go to the next thing. But yeah, definitely want to do all those things, whenever that time comes.
Lax, I'm not saying it, man, because I don't want to gas you up. I don't want to blow your head up at all. But this is definitely my favorite episode. Thank you for opening your life to us, man.
I can't believe I fucking cried.
There's nothing wrong with crying,
big dog. Come on, man.
No, I'm just like, I have this persona. I'm very upfront. I'm very straight. But I can be. I don't get soft like that or like get emotional like that on the normal shit. Like when it comes to like my mom, my family, like that shit definitely like that shit really gets emotional because it's very important to me. But like it's very rare. It's very rare you'll ever see me like that.
I wouldn't even call it soft. You're just you just love your family, because we gotta end this perspective or this perception of like if men cry it's soft. No.
Oh yeah, my girlfriend gets on me about that shit too.
Like
because
there's strength in it, and I can and I relate in some shape or form. Like my mom has been sick all my life, and I definitely had to do a broadcast where like literally a week apart, my grandfather passed away and also my cousin passed away the same, like in a week span. So like it's hard sometimes when you have to still perform and still go and still have to find a way to grief and deal with those things at the same time.
No, you're right. So for those of you people at home, I mean, you guys just heard one of the realest pros I've ever spoken to or known in my life, man. If you don't follow Rainbow Six Siege at all, I'm gonna say you need to follow this guy, be a fan of this guy. What he's doing is something phenomenal. We're talking about a top tier team in North America where it was a team full of star-studded veterans, and they made the most ballsy change ever. Ballsy change ever. They picked up this young rookie from Brazil. They picked up another rookie as well, and they just skyrocketed to the top of the leaderboard and never looked back. With him being one of the faces and highlight players of the team, they have the most fun play style. The most fun play style. You could quote me in all of Rainbow Six Siege. They're so fun to watch. Trust me, you won't regret it at all. Laxing, thank you for coming by. By the way, you and Lauren, aka Glitter Explosion, I love the both of you. Not gonna, Erin.
Yeah, wait.
That's a good looking couple, ain't it?
That 1-2 punch,
You know what I'm saying? You guys.
Lauren makes that relationship 100%.
Woo! Listen,
I know you guys did that. I know this is just the last thing because I know you guys did and got to get going. I know you guys did the dating in esports or whatever, but I find it definitely easier to date someone in your industry because they get your job, they understand your job, and you understand theirs just as much, which is extremely important in a relationship, to understand each other's workspace, work ethics, and all that. And like that's something like for me with Lauren is a very hard fucking worker.
Oof.
And even just me being in the pro player side of things, like I look up to her because of her work ethic and how she presents herself, and like that's something like that I definitely want to be better at because I know there's always room for improvement even in my area. And like Lauren is definitely someone that like I can look up to and be like, one, I am proud to say that that is my girlfriend, and then two, I am proud that I can look at her and be, you know, amazed, be taken back by her work ethic and want to better myself off of what she does.
Yo, if Lauren watches this, she's gonna get you pregnant, man. Yo, so let me go ahead and tell the beautiful people at home, make sure you definitely follow our Twitter, Life Not a Game Pod. Make sure you follow our Discord and also our YouTube. Make sure you follow everything because we're gonna be dropping content left and right. We keep things real, like we said. Life is not a game, and I'm really happy that we have amazing guests such as Gabriel to share his life with us. But once again, I'm Velly. I want to give thanks to our producer, also our third personality trooper, Tyler. We're gonna get you in the next episodes, okay? The world needs to know how hilarious you are. Erin, it's been a blast. I love working with you, Erin. You're phenomenal. Laxing, tear it the fuck up. Continue to be successful.
Definitely will.
Yo, dude, seriously, me to you. Continue working on your brand, get that stream just popping the fuck off.
I know. I just need to commit to it. I need to commit to it.
You're one hell of a guy, Gabe. I'm telling you, man. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you succeed. If you ever need help with anything, and even if you even think about coming to the cast of the road, you know, me and your girl got you. You know, Erin's your friend too. Same thing with Tyler. Other than that, man, I want to wish you the best for your career. You're living a dream at the end of the day, and I'm happy that your head didn't get too big to look over that. You definitely seem like a guy that appreciates life and everything else that comes with it. Love you.
Sure do.
Shout out to your family as well. But once again, we're going to close things down. This is Life is Not a Game. We're sharing things out. Don't forget to check out our next episode. We're going to have 2 guests that are just going to blow the roof off of this damn place. The topic's going to be hotter than my breath in the morning. We'll catch you guys later. I love you. Stay safe. Mask up. Get vaccinated. We'll catch you next time. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.